I am at Yurakucho Station on the Tokyo Metro Yurakucho Line. In addition to connecting to various JR lines, I can transfer to the Hibiya Line, the Chiyoda Line, and the Toei Mita Line at Hibiya Station. Since its location is closer to Yurakucho than to Hibiya, this station is the only one among the 4 subway lines to bear the name Yurakucho. The Yurakucho Line first opened between Ikebukuro Station and Ginza-itchome Station in 1974. The name of the Yurakucho Line is of course derived from this Yurakucho Station. The line name was decided based on a public open call for names in 1973. The candidate that received the most votes at that time was the Kojimachi Line, named after Kojimachi Station, which is 3 stations away. Kojimachi Station was a station served only by the Yurakucho Line, and its ease of distinction was considered an advantage. However, the kanji character for Koji was not included in the Toyo kanji, daily use kanji at that time, and the name was rejected because it was considered difficult and unfamiliar. On the other hand, names related to Yurakucho stood out, with the Yurakucho Line ranking 2nd and the Yuraku Line ranking 5th. At the time of selection, an eastward extension was planned, and because Yurakucho would be located near the middle of the line upon full completion, the name Yurakucho Line was chosen in 1974. In this video, I explore 3 stations on the Yurakucho Line: Yurakucho Station, Ginza-itchome Station, and Shintomicho Station, while touching upon the line planning. The prototype of the Yurakucho Line was presented in Report Number 6 of the Urban Transportation Council in June 1962. It was a line extending from the direction of Nakamurabashi on the Seibu-Ikebukuro Line, passing through Meijiro, Iidabashi, and Asakusabashi to reach the Kinshicho. Subsequently, in Report Number 10 of the Urban Transportation Council in April 1968, the transit points east of Iidabashi were changed to Ichigaya, Nagatacho, Yurakucho, and Ginza, and the terminus became Akashicho, which is near the current Shintomicho. Furthermore, the transit points on the west side were also changed, and the section between Nakamurabashi and Gokokuji was to be considered while taking future demand into account. One of the construction purposes was to serve as a bypass for the Marunouchi Line, where congestion was intensifying at that time. The problem with the Marunouchi Line was its low transport capacity, as each car was short at 18 meters, 60 feet, and operated in 6-car formations. The intention was to alleviate the congestion of the Marunouchi Line by constructing a new line that allows for easy transfers at Ikebukuro Station. The Chiyoda Line, which had been constructed just before, was the same, and because transferring from the Hibiya Line at Kitasenju Station is convenient, it has led to the alleviation of congestion on the Hibiya Line. Revisions were subsequently made to the planned route. The first section to open was between Ikebukuro and Ginza-itchome in 1974. The section between Ginza-itchome and Shintomicho opened in March 1980. A major factor why it took over 5 years to extend the line by just 1 station was the difficulty of tunneling work under narrow roads. Afterward, other sections opened sequentially. The Yurakucho Line reached full completion when the section between Shintomicho and Shinkiba opened in 1988. I examined the characteristics of the 3 stations I am introducing in order. The average daily number of passengers at Yurakucho Station in fiscal 2024 is about 139,000. This ranks 17th within Tokyo Metro and 4th on the Yurakucho Line, following Ikebukuro, Toyosu, and Iidabashi. Shintomicho Station ranks 102nd, and Ginza-itchome Station ranks 107th. The station with the fewest passengers on the Yurakucho Line is Sakuradamon Station with about 13,000, ranking 129th. This is the second lowest among all Tokyo Metro stations. Escalator renewal work is being carried out at Yurakucho Station. There is one upward and one downward escalator, and since they are being renewed one by one alternately, the one in operation is for upward use only. Passengers going from the ticket gates to the platform have no choice but to use the stairs. Because this serves as a transfer passage to the Chiyoda and Mita lines, it becomes particularly crowded during the morning rush. Station staff are positioned to guide passengers to prevent congestion. However, the line of passengers for the downward direction extends to the front of the Mita line ticket gates located above here. Since the downward escalator cannot be used, it is natural for the line of passengers to grow long. Although Tokyo Metro has posted notices indicating where to line up, the inability to use one escalator is a major negative point. When a train on the Mita line arrives, where the ticket gates face each other, a long line connects the gates. Some people cut into the line at the ticket gate, creating a tense atmosphere. Furthermore, the line of people waiting for the upward escalator continues endlessly onto the platform, making it difficult to board and disembark. The escalator renewal work is scheduled to finish in mid-February, so I must endure until then. Because the Yurakucho line is a relatively late opening line, it is characterized by platforms located deep underground. Yurakucho Station is no exception, as it is located deep to pass under lines that were constructed earlier. On the west side of the station, it passes under the Chiyoda and Mita lines, and on the east side, it passes under the Marunouchi Line. Furthermore, because there was a plan to build an underground road near the center of the station, space for that purpose was provided on the level corresponding to the second basement floor. In the area below that, the pillars are thick and resemble walls. The underground road plan has not been realized, and it is unknown what has become of the secured space. The connecting passage on the level above the platform has steps in various places. This may be because the underground road was planned to pass directly under the areas where the floor surface is elevated. By the way, there is something like this on the level above the platform. These are Shigaraki-yaki raccoons, a specialty of Shigaraki-cho, which has a name similar to Yurakucho. They have been placed here since 1988, and while there are stories that the station master at the time or local residents brought them, the exact circumstances of their placement are unknown. Among the dignified raccoons, there is also a parent and child pair of frogs. Although the foot traffic is somewhat light in this passage of Yurakucho Station, they watch over the passing people today as well. Furthermore, it is said that the road width directly above Yurakucho Station is not very wide, which made construction work difficult. The station structures were built using a method called the cut and cover method. This is a method where the entire area from the ground level to the bottom of the tunnel is excavated, the tunnel is built, and then the area is filled back in. To dig the tunnel to the full width of the road at Yurakucho Station, the outer walls of the adjacent buildings were exposed during construction, and it is said that great care was taken for noise control. However, thanks to those efforts, a maximum platform width of 9 meters, 29.53 feet was secured. And speaking of taking care, the west side of Yurakucho Station was a place where incomparable care was required. The Yurakucho Line passes directly under the moat of the Imperial Palace here. Although subway routes in Tokyo are set to avoid the Imperial Palace, there are lines like the Yurakucho, Tozai, and Hanzoman lines that pass under the moats. Between Yurakucho and Sakurado-man, the tunnel passes directly under the stone wall of the Imperial Palace. About 350 years have passed since this stone wall was constructed, and some parts were undergoing deformation. The situation was quite dangerous, with about 3 locations having shapes that theoretically would not hold. Nonetheless, This stone wall is designated as an important cultural property, and it would be a disaster if the stone wall collapsed or deformed due to tunnel construction. It is said that workers photographed the stone wall after writing numbers on each of approximately 3,000 stones to record the original state. The construction proceeded under a system where strain gauges were installed. In this section, the shield tunneling method was used instead of the cut and cover method. This is a method where a cylindrical shield machine with cutters at the tip excavates the ground and fits concrete blocks from the inside to build a tunnel. A tunnel made by the shield tunneling method is called a shield tunnel, and while the cross-section of a cut and cover tunnel is rectangular, a shield tunnel is characterized by its circular shape identical to the shield machine. The area where the line passes under the Chiyoda and Mita lines on the west side of Yurakucho Station caused no major problems, because the tunnel section for the Yurakucho line had been constructed during the building of those two lines. In contrast, the location where it intersects with the Marunouchi Line on the east side of Yurakucho Station is different. Because there was no plan for the Yurakucho Line when the Marunouchi Line was constructed, it was necessary to excavate directly underneath while supporting the Marunouchi Line tunnel. There are also highways and buildings nearby, and the road width is narrow, making it a very difficult construction project. The Marunouchi Line tunnel passes as if grazing the northeastern corner of the building located on the south side of the Yurakucho Line. The exit of the underground passage at Yurakucho Station is positioned as close as possible to Ginza-itchome Station, while being in a location that does not overlap with the Marunouchi Line tunnel at the very limit. Furthermore, perhaps because large buildings cannot be constructed directly above the Marunouchi Line tunnel, there are low buildings for the middle of the city center. Looking at the floor plan, I can see that the underground passage and exits skillfully avoid the Marunouchi Line tunnel. I think it would be better to connect the underground passages of Yurakucho Station and Ginza-itchome Station, but that is impossible because of the Marunouchi Line tunnel. I head toward Ginza-itchome Station. When Ginza-itchome Station was the terminus, it is said that trains used a crossover located next to Yurakucho Station to turn around. It is a bit far from Ginza-itchome Station, but there is a reason for that. The road above Ginza-itchome Station is narrower than the road above Yurakucho Station. The width is insufficient to arrange the inbound and outbound tracks and the platforms side by side like at Yurakucho Station. Therefore, between Yurakucho Station and Ginza-itchome Station, the track arrangement changes from side by side to a staggered configuration with an upper and lower level. The train enters Ginza-itchome Station in this state, and the tracks form a two-story structure. Because this connecting part is next to Ginza-itchome Station, the station and the crossover are far apart. Two-story stations themselves are not rare in Tokyo subways, with similar examples on the Chiyoda Line and the even earlier Tozai Line. However, the structure of Ginza-itchome Station is significantly different from those lines. In the two-story sections of the Chiyoda and Tozai lines, the characteristic is that the track and platform face the same direction. This is because the tracks are also two-storied between stations. This structure is most rational for narrowing the tunnel width between stations and allows for the lowest total construction cost. However, this structure has the disadvantage that the entire structure becomes tall because the high track sections overlap vertically. At Ginza-itchome Station, the track and platform are staggered to reduce the overall height of the structure and cut construction costs. Since the distance between Yurakucho Station and Ginza-itchome Station is too short, there is also the circumstance that it is difficult to reach the point where the vertically separated tracks overlap. Furthermore, since the section between stations is not two-storied, the fact that there is no need to intentionally overlap the tracks vertically also has an influence. I examine Ginza-itchome Station in detail. The upper level is for the direction of Shinkiba, and the lower level is for the direction of Ikebukuro. When this station was the terminus, the two platforms were used alternately during rush hours, and it is said that only the upper platform was used during the day when there were fewer trains. I go up to the ticket gate level. The stairs and escalators at Ginza-itchome Station are arranged perpendicular to the platform. This is because they are contained directly under the road that intersects with the road directly above the station, reflecting the scarcity of land. Only stairs are located here. This is the state of the ticket gate. Even though it is midday on a weekday, it is deserted for a station bearing the name of Ginza. There are few people because it is far from the center of Ginza and also subtly far from Yurakucho. There is a sign here for the transfer to the Marunouchi Line. Although the sign in the back has information for 3 lines, only the Marunouchi Line is shown on this notice because only the Marunouchi Line is close to here. Furthermore, among the 3 lines serving Ginza Station, the Hibiya Line platform is in a relatively distant location, so only the Ginza and Marunouchi lines are announced on the train and shown on the monitors.
Ginza-itchome Sta. Ginza-sen, Marunouchi-sen wa onorikai desu. The next stop is Ginza-itchome Y19. Please change here for the Ginza Line and the Marunouchi Line.
There are only 2 ticket machines, and whether they reduced the original number or the space secured for future increases is not being used, a sense of melancholy drifts regardless. Automatic ticket gates were installed at Ginza-itchome Station when it opened. This was because the Yurakucho Line at that time was not connected to other lines within the ticket gates, making it suitable for a demonstration test of automatic gates. However, at that time, the introduction of magnetic tickets had not progressed on other lines, and incidents occurred frequently where tickets that could not be processed were inserted, so they were later removed. I exit the ticket gate and move further back. The area where the heights of the inbound and outbound tracks become the same is approximately below here. I can clearly see the underlying structure, such as the curved tracks and the pillars between the tracks. This underground passage has little foot traffic and does not feel like the Ginza area. Since the passage in the back is within a commercial facility, it is only open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. It seems that homeless people sometimes stay here, and there are even cones with "no loitering" written on them. The escalator on the route to the Marunouchi Line is interrupted in the middle. There are no elevators in this area, making it subpar as a barrier-free route. There are other stations in Tokyo with ground-level transfers, but I must note that they are different from other transfer stations, often due to insufficient barrier-free support. I return inside the ticket gates. Compared to the Shinkiba-bound platform located on a relatively shallow level, the Ikebukuro-bound platform is on a deeper level, so it is fully equipped with upward and downward escalators. Each platform is not connected only to the ticket gate level. There are 3 sets of stairs that directly connect the 2 platforms. I will go up for a moment. Because the platforms partially overlap, it was possible to install stairs in such locations. It feels like exploring a secret base, which is somewhat fun. The platform pillars are at the center of the station, and the platforms and tracks spread out symmetrically. When comparing the upper and lower platforms, I can clearly understand the structure. A key point is that there are more pillars because the walls around the stairs alone cannot support the load. I head toward the main ticket gate. The passage to the main ticket gate is also in a location protruding from the platform. The Ikebukuro-bound platform is also fully equipped with upward and downward escalators here. As for the Shinkiba-bound side, at least the upward escalator is fully equipped, showing the significance of the ticket gate above. Directly above here is the Ginza Line tunnel, which intersects Ginza-itchome Station at a right angle. The connecting passage level that continued from the Yurakucho Station side is interrupted near the main ticket gate because the Ginza Line tunnel is here. The Ginza Line tunnel has a gradient, being higher toward Shibuya and lower toward Asakusa. Because the Yurakucho Line tunnel was dug as shallowly as possible, it is directly below the Ginza Line tunnel, and the ceiling is tilted due to the influence of that gradient. The floor around the ticket gate is horizontal, but there is quite a slope on the other floors. Looking at the elevator entrance, I can see that some parts are subtly lower or higher than the floor surface, indicating that this station itself was built on a sloping site. This section of the Ginza Line opened in 1934. Since there was of course no plan for the Yurakucho Line at that time, construction was carried out while supporting the existing tunnel similar to the Marunouchi Line intersection. The Ginza Line tunnel was built earlier than the Marunouchi Line tunnel, so it could not be safely supported by the same method as the Marunouchi Line, and the construction was reportedly more difficult. If I stand at the ticket gate for a while, I can hear the sound of the Ginza Line running in the tunnel directly above. During the day, inbound and outbound trains pass each other in this area, so sometimes a louder sound can be heard. The distance between Ginza-itchome Station on the Yurakucho Line and Ginza Station on the Ginza Line is slightly less than 200 meters, 656.17 feet between exits. Although there was a plan to connect both stations with an underground passage, it was abandoned because avoiding underground buried objects was difficult. The escalator ends halfway, and the part leading to the surface consists only of stairs. It is a disappointing structure, but it is an unavoidable structure for providing escalators while installing stairs in a narrow space. Since its opening, Ginza-itchome Station had been treated as a separate station from Ginza Station, but on June 6, 2020, transfer service with Ginza Station began and out-of-gate transfers became possible. I leave Ginza-itchome Station and head towards Shintomicho Station. The tunnel, which had a two-story structure, changes its shape immediately after leaving the station. After the inbound and outbound tracks align, it switches to a shield tunnel. While the west side of Yurakucho Station was a single-track shield tunnel, the section between Ginza-itchome and Shintomicho is a double-track shield tunnel. A double-track shield tunnel has a large impact on the ground and is relatively difficult to construct, but because there is only one tunnel, the total width is narrower than two single-track shield tunnels. Since the road above here is narrow for a road above a subway, it is a double-track shield tunnel. I arrive at Shintomicho Station in an instant after leaving Ginza-itchome Station. This station was the terminus from 1980 when the Yurakucho Line was extended from Ginza-itchome Station until 1988. The crossover for turning around that was located on the Ginza-itchome side has been removed. The place where the position of the cables on the wall changes might be where the crossover used to be. Since the shield tunnel reaches right next to the station, the circular cross-section can be observed from the platform. Such a station is quite rare in Japan. And what should be noted at Shintomicho Station is the station itself. Looking at the scene after the train has left, I notice something. There are no pillars between the inbound and outbound tracks. In Japanese subway stations, if the platforms are on both sides of the tracks, it is normal to have pillars between the tracks to support the load. A station without such pillars is extremely rare. The reason for this structure is that the area immediately next to Shintomicho Station is a shield tunnel. If there were pillars between the tracks, the diameter of the shield tunnel would increase, raising construction costs. However, there is no space next to Shintomicho Station to provide a connecting part that narrows the interval between the tracks. Therefore, by not providing pillars in the station section and narrowing the interval between the tracks, the shield tunnels before and after the station are kept small. Because the load is concentrated on the platform pillars, those pillars are thicker than usual. Furthermore, since the load is also placed on the floor, walls, and ceiling, the specifications of those components differ from those of other stations. Because there are no pillars between the tracks, Shintomicho Station boasts high popularity as a photography spot. Particularly when viewed from the Ikebukuro-bound platform, it is a composition where I see the Shinkiba-bound train from an outside curve. Since there is ample room before and after the stopping position, the entire formation is captured beautifully. Although the installation of platform doors has created constraints on the composition, its popularity remains. In 2025, Tokyo Metro conducted a photo session after the last train. It is said that the use of tripods and stepladders, which are normally prohibited, was permitted during the session. Also, on the Shinkiba side, I can take photos with a composition showing the train proceeding up the slope of the shield tunnel. It is said that a photo session was also held here with 2 trains stopped side by side. It seems it was a flexible and intensive photo session, with trains being moved subtly in response to requests. By the way, I personally recommend the departure melody on the Ikebukuro-bound platform. And Shintomicho Station has a certain facility. While the area was a shield tunnel immediately next to the platform on the Ginza-itchome side, a box culvert tunnel continues on the Shinkiba side. This is because a floodgate to prevent flooding is located a short distance past the station. There are components to receive a wall around the tracks, and it seems the floodgate is above them. The Yurakucho Line passes under the river further ahead, and there is a concern that water entering the tunnel could rush in. There is a wall to block water next to Shintomicho Station, where the tunnel is at a relatively high location. The wall is hidden above the tunnel and is lowered as needed, so its existence cannot usually be perceived. The average daily number of passengers at Shintomicho Station is 36,625. This is the lowest among Yurakucho Line stations with connections to other lines, and the number of users is lower than at Kojimachi Station, which is a standalone station on the Yurakucho Line. The reasons why the number of passengers is not that high are that the surrounding area is a residential district with few offices or commercial facilities, and that stations on other lines are also nearby. I go to the ticket gate level. This is an escalator that gently becomes horizontal, which I feel is often seen on lines developed relatively recently. The ticket gates are divided into 2 locations, east and west. As is common with recent Tokyo Metro examples, there may be no staff at the service window, but because the 2 ticket gates are connected by an out-of-gate passage, the impact is not very large. The ticket gate on the east side is named the Akashicho Direction Gate. Akashicho was the tentative name for Shintomicho Station during the planning stage. I will try transferring to the Hibiya line from here. Going to the left leads to exits 5 to 7. Because it intersects with the Hibiya Line tunnel on the east side of Shintomicho Station and there are buried objects, the passage to exit 7 rises once and then lowers before reaching the surface. I proceed to the right side. Behind the interior decoration adopted for stations built around the same time, I can see an even older-looking interior. On the wall, there is a notice labeled Information for Tsukiji Station. Shintomicho Station and Tsukiji Station are not connected underground, and it is necessary to go to the surface once to transfer. This is the same pattern as the transfer between Ginza-itchome Station and Ginza Station. It was designated as a transfer station on March 17, 2018, which is earlier than that one. It looks convenient with an escalator, but this escalator ends halfway. The elevator is in a slightly distant location, and the barrier-free support is not perfect. After walking for a while after leaving the exit, there is an entrance to Tsukiji Station. Tsukiji Station has platforms on both sides of the tracks. The platform for the Kita-Senju direction is accessible from this entrance, and to go to the Nakameguro direction platform, I must go to the sidewalk on the opposite side at the intersection in front. There is a passage connecting the two platforms inside the station, but it is better to move in advance. And speaking of Shintomicho Station, its location is characteristic. This station is located where a river used to exist. There are places in Tokyo where rivers were reclaimed after the war and buildings were constructed, but it is rare for a subway station to be located there. Furthermore, there is a highway exit above here, and the land is used in a multi-layered manner.